To us, it seemed like nobody was interested in selling this house. It's kind of like our feeling from it, because we had the money, we're ready to go, but people won't return our phone calls, our emails, our counter offers. It just seemed like to us, like, are you guys really interested in selling this house or not? Well, it's a Sherman Park neighborhood, and we feel really kind of drawn to Sherman Park and the diversity of it, and that it's kind of a transitional neighborhood in the city, between kind of more of the suburbs and the central city. Several of our people live here in Sherman Park. Yeah, the hardest thing was getting the bank to agree to sell us the house. We had the money, we had the energy, the desire to buy the place. We were making offers with the bank. The hardest thing was to get the bank to respond to us.
And what bank were you dealing with?
We were dealing with Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo? Okay.
In some form of a counter offer or an accepted offer. We made our first offer on this house, and it was 4 weeks before we heard anything from the bank, as far as a counter offer or proposal, anything. So that was the hardest part. And the realtors that the bank had working for it really didn't care. They didn't care about the house. They didn't care if they sold it. They didn't care about anything. So it was just a really difficult process to get people to listen to us, to get people to deal with us. We bought the house. We initially looked at the house the week that the bank had taken it back.
Okay.
So we jumped right on it, and it still, you know, it took a long time. The biggest problem was the bank not being really listening to us, and as far as we made an offer, they were asking $35,000 for the house, $39,000 for the house, foreclosed house, and we initially offered around $25,000 for the house. That offer took about 4 weeks to finally for us to hear something. We go up in price a little. They make nothing on a counter offer. They basically say, this is our price, we're going to stick to it. And then we kind of stepped back from it for a little while. We went up in our asking price again to around $30,000, and then once again it took weeks and weeks for us to hear from the bank. I mean, and so finally, after the 3 months, we were just so tired of dealing with the bank that we went up and we paid them what they were asking for, but because we just saw that there was no negotiation. It didn't seem like they were caring, and all the while was we were coming in. We live around here, so we were seeing the house. We were seeing windows being broken out. The house was like being broken down in the period that we were trying these negotiations. You know, when we first moved in, there was just a ton of trash in the place. We emptied 2 20-yard dumpsters of trash out of this place. The kitchen was terrible. Crack pipes and things in the backyard. Used condoms in the basement. It was just in a really, really bad shape. And we've put on a new roof. We've rewired basically almost the whole house. We've plumbed, you know, probably 3/4 of the house. We've renovated a kitchen and a bathroom.
A whole bunch of minor carpentry stuff, even though it's not done yet. Most of it's done.
Installed like 10, 15 new windows.
A lot of, yeah, it's got to be at least, yeah, probably about that.
You know how much you spent on your renovation?
We've probably spent $25,000 on the renovation of the house. Well, the bank didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. I mean, we didn't own the place, and we came in, we boarded up the windows.
Oh, okay, you guys.
Because we were worried about the house.
Right.
And so when we were like, we would come by and look and see. We'd sometimes pick up some trash. The yard was getting out of hand. Windows were being broken, and so we began to do some. We didn't even own it, but we began to do some protection of the house because we saw that the bank wasn't going to do anything. The realtors weren't going to do anything. No one was going to do anything except us.
And as we're going through, it's like we're not even allowed to board it up, but we did board it up. Like Jason was talking about, because we had to say, hey, this thing's going to get destroyed. I mean, we're recognizing we don't even own the place, and we recognize what a waste this would be to have this property destroyed. And you think about like these duplexes, like I'm looking at the history of Milwaukee. These duplexes were like so working families could have a dignified place to live, and are basically where banks are letting these things fall apart. They're letting them basically turn into these horrible places and they're beautiful. I mean, if you look around, look at the architecture behind you even, you're like, man, this is like master carpenters are making these houses. And so for us, we recognize the value in the community to have something like this torn up. And so for us, we were passionate about saying, hey, we've got to step in here and do something, even if it's just one house. We got to do something.